Story 1. One time I drove all the way to work, pulled over right before pulling into the parking lot, sat there for a second, just shook my head and said no, turned around, and drove back home. It was like I did heroin. Story 2. Floating in the ocean after my back was broken felt like gravity was suspended for as long as I was in the water. Such a sweet reprieve. Story 3. A cuddle so good that it calms the mind. It is truly a great moment to just feel the body, mind, and soul relax. Sink into that feeling. Story 4. A doctor sat me down and told me that my oldest son probably had 4 to 6 months to live. The tumor was on his liver and inoperable due to its location. He would bleed out if they tried. I lived with that for a couple of months. I went to Vanderbilt University, and a doctor informed me that they were wrong and it was healthy tissue. Basically, it was just a hard knot of vascular tissue. The relief I felt was so overwhelming that it became a physical sensation. I don't know how to describe it, but it was like every bit of stress in my body let go all at once. Story 5. Went to Thailand during the low season. It was in the 90s and humid with random showers of rain. I went in the ocean with waves crashing over my body while a hot, dense rain fell down on me. Unforgettable. Cannot wait to go back. Story 6. I had an intimate experience while under the influence of mushrooms in Amsterdam and saw vibrant, rainbow-colored visuals. It was unforgettable. Story 7. Not even lying, being an anxiously attached person, the feeling when the person you are with or talking to responds to you after a long time. Story 8. Jet-lagged and sleep-deprived. Inhaled a giant banh mi and fell asleep for 12 hours. Woke up a new person, honestly. Story 9. When I first started taking oxycodone to control my endometriosis pain, I felt like the red-hot ball of lead in my pelvis suddenly didn't matter anymore. As a matter of fact, nothing did. I felt like my brain was wrapped in a warm blanket fresh out of the dryer. Unfortunately, that feeling combined with needing to be on opioids off and on for years while they tried and failed to get my internal organs to stop fusing together and causing internal bleeding eventually led to me developing a horrible opioid addiction. I eventually turned to fentanyl. Today, I am 2.5 years clean. Story 10. When you play music in a band, there are moments of grace in which music just flows. You do not even have to actually think about playing. Just think about the notes and they come out. Ideas and changes are dealt with and shared immediately between musicians. It is the result of good practice and rehearsal, good music, and audience. Nothing comes close to this feeling. Story 11. Lovemaking with my true love and soulmate, my husband. Rest in peace. We could be perfectly still together in closeness, and pure joy would envelop us. Rest in peace. I have never experienced anything remotely close to that in over 25 years. Story 12. During chemotherapy, I had a week off from the treatment, meaning I just had some injections on Tuesday and no chemotherapy for the rest of the week. My appetite suddenly came back, and I ordered a Domino's pizza. It was the best thing I have ever tasted. Story 13. Mushrooms. Feeling like a child again with no worries in the world. You forget how simple and fun life used to be as an adult. Then you have a small mushroom trip, and the pain is gone, the sense of wonder is back. As long as you did not do too much, you are basically completely functional but just living life in high definition. Story 14. After reading this thread, I have concluded that I really need to try some MDMA or psilocybin mushrooms and have sex while under their influence. Story 15. Xanax. I am 7 years sober, but I have always, and probably will always, feel like Xanax was the most amazing feeling I have ever felt in my entire life. So much so, the day I took it at 15 years old, I did not stop taking it every single day for over 5 years. I never used heroin, but that may be the best. I would not know. Story 16. Morphine. I had back surgery, and the pain was so intense that I could not walk. One dose of that, and I felt like Superman. Story 17. A few slightly different ones all at the top for different categories, being just the right level of high while lying in bed with fresh sheets. The feeling of my legs sliding around in their sticks with me to this day. I've never quite gotten that right level of high, relaxed, and comfortable since. I have one particular oral sex experience I remember clearly. I was high, and it had been weeks since my last orgasm. She was going slow and using only her mouth. Amazing finish. Warning, this one is a little gross and about bowel movements. One time I had been constipated for a while. I decided to push. I started to push out a hard bit and I could feel it right there. I decided to take some toilet paper and see if I could ease it out. Well, it was like popping a cork. So much relief so quickly. Story 18. Okay, so this might sound a little weird, but me and my ex, who I believe was my soulmate, had amazing sex. One time, for some strange reason, we were having sex and both said to each other that we were super tired. I still don't remember or know how exactly this happened, but we stopped thrusting and just laid down. I had my hard penis still inside her, and we were spooning with me behind her. Somehow, we fell asleep in that position with me still inside her. I will never forget the sleep and pure bliss that I felt physically. The feeling of being so close and so relaxed and aroused at the same time was by far the most pleasurable, relaxing, intense, in love, and connected I have ever felt physically and emotionally in my whole existence. I think the combination of physical intimacy and emotional connection made me feel unlike anything before or since. After we did that once unintentionally, we sometimes did it purposely. I knew it was special because it almost felt better every single time. If you have someone you truly love and are physically attracted to, you should really try it. I think it felt equally as good for both of us based on her feelings about it as well. It was an experience that I think was the true definition of intimacy or comfort. It may be strange to suggest, but you and your partner will not regret it. Just make sure it's someone you actually love. I can't imagine it feeling anywhere close to as good with someone I just wanted to have sex with. I think it was just as good as sex. I really wonder if anyone else has done this and felt this. Let me know. I can't be the only one. Story 19. I was forced to be awake for about 65 hours straight one time. I was a walking zombie for about 30 of those hours. The most physical pleasure I have ever felt was when I finally laid down in my bed. I do not think it will ever be surpassed. Story 20. That ideal full-body stretch occurs when you naturally awaken from a restful night's sleep and, for a few blissful seconds, every muscle feels just right. Story 21. Mushrooms. I am not sure if I will ever get to experience it again because after I had a bad trip, it did not work the same. However, I felt the beauty, bliss, and joy of life. Story 22. I had a clogged nose and couldn't clear it. Then I finally blew out a large booger that I couldn't believe. My nose was finally clear, and I could breathe again. It was very relieving. I think a lot of nasal mucus was stuck after I stopped using medication, but it felt great when that large booger came out. Story 23. When I somehow find the strength to reach my hand a little further down my back to scratch that itch, oh my God, it is amazing. Story 24. I would agree with the previous answers about oral stimulation. If the woman truly knows how to do it, the sensation of climaxing while she continues is unmatched in pure physical pleasure. Another example is experiencing relief from a severe headache. When the pain begins to fade, you can still clearly remember how intense it was, making the contrast between pain and relief a remarkable sensation. Story 25. When I kissed my wife after we said, "I do," it felt like a spiritual explosion. We were up on a seaside cliff with the waves crashing beneath us, the sun setting, and a storm rolling in off in the distance. A little slice of heaven came floating down on us that day. Story 26. Getting ready for my colonoscopy. It was almost like the anesthesiologist was slowly administering the medication into my veins. It felt like every cell in my body was vibrating with pleasure, and all aches and pains went away. Story 27. I had a wisdom tooth that grew next to my trigeminal nerve. The pain while it was growing in was so severe that I would drool and get headaches behind my eyes. I had to miss school and work because of it. When they removed the wisdom tooth, the pressure release made my eyes flutter and I blacked out. I have not had those problems since. Story 28. Sticking your hand inside a jar full of hard, uncooked beans like lentils. There is a scene in the French movie Amélie that depicts this specific experience. Story 29. Went with some friends on a ski trip. We skied all day and then did a couple of hours of night skiing. The feeling of taking off the ski boots and stretching my feet was incredible. My worn-out old sneakers felt like I was walking down a street in heaven. Story 30. Had the flu, and my nose was completely blocked for 2 days. Blowing my nose did nothing. I finally managed to blow my nose, and without being graphic, the tissue looked like a crime scene. But my God, the relief of being able to breathe through my nose again is something I have never experienced before. Story 31. Falling asleep with my child on my chest, also asleep, never got old. Now I get to do it with my grandchildren. Story 32. Literally just cuddling up tight with my wife is 100% the best physical pleasure I have ever felt. Holding her tight with legs all tangled up does not get any better than that. Story 33. Being able to not only have a relationship with someone I fell in love with when I was 19, but to be with them for over 5 years and have them love you back with the same effort you put in is special. It has been 3 years since she passed. It still feels as if she is with me to this day. I don't know if I will ever feel the same as I did with her. Story 34. When my band was on tour for several weeks, we were getting little sleep in uncomfortable places. Some nights, I had to sleep sitting upright in the van on the way to the next show. It was some of the worst sleep I have ever had. The band touring with us had removed the back 2 seats of their 15-passenger van and placed 2 memory foam mattresses on top of each other. I was jealous. One night, we were all driving through the Smokies and decided to stop at a roadside overlook of the hills. The guitarist for the other band said he noticed I hadn't slept well and offered me a turn on their mattress. I lay on it with the back doors of the van facing the valley, the cool air gently brushing me, and with one incredible blanket. Hands down, it was the best sleep I have ever had. I slept for 14 hours straight. It would have taken a forklift to get me out of that bed. Story 35. My messer putting his elbow in my buttocks. I seem to carry a lot of stress there, and the feeling of relief when he is done is indescribable. I feel like I am walking on air for days afterward. He is also easy to spend time with. No embarrassment about being naked or him doing something so intimate. Story 36. The best experience of my life. She slowly and luxuriously pleased me to completion, then continued. 45 minutes later, I reached completion again. And as if nothing happened, she continued. By that time, I had to put an end to the pleasure. How she managed to do that without a break or a sore jaw, I don't know. But she loved doing it and might have continued for hours more if I hadn't stopped her. Story 37. My friend with benefits gives me handjobs with her finger in my anus. I experience the strongest orgasms ever. I almost scream every time. Story 38. So far, a first kiss with someone, one that you've been waiting weeks for. Thinking about it, dreaming about it, wondering if it will happen on a certain day. But then the heartache when it doesn't. The instances where you both get really close but show physical restraint, knowing you both want it. Then, one random time, it finally happens. It is everything you expected but also different than you anticipated at the same time. It is very innocent but intensely passionate. Next on the list is a very deep dental cleaning. Story 39. Matched with a girl on Tinder. The plan was that she was going to peg me because she had never done it before and wanted to try. Cool. I go over to her house. We smoke a joint and have a chat. She starts to get horny, so we go to the bed. We sit at the edge of the bed. She pushes me onto my back, pulls my jeans and boxers down to my knees, and pulls my legs onto her lap. She starts to suck me off very hard. Then she sticks 2 of her fingers into my anus and starts fingering me intensely, sucking the life out of me. At this point in my life, I had been pegged about 2 times and only had a bum blowjob maybe 3 times. But those were very soft and sensual. Never had someone finger my anus like this. She talks to me as I'm struggling. After a minute or 2, she tells me I am not allowed to orgasm until she says I can. Fuck. I can't hold it anymore. I tell her I am about to orgasm. You can come for me now. And I explode in her mouth. She does not stop fingering and sucking me until at least a minute after I have stopped coming. Could have been longer. I don't know. I was trapped. It's over. I can't catch my breath at all. The relief is next level. By the time she stops, I can't move or breathe. Both of my hands are turned inward, like I have cerebral palsy. I couldn't straighten them. When I did, they just naturally turned inward again. It was bizarre. I had pins and needles in my cheeks. My blood pressure was all over the place. I tried to move, I couldn't. I was totally and completely incapacitated for the best part of 5 minutes. My jeans and boxers were still around my knees. She got up after a minute with a big smirk on her face, asking if I was okay. Yes, but no. I need a few minutes. I can't do anything. Like my hands are stuck like this. It's never happened before. I need a few minutes. She got me a glass of water. I have never ever experienced an orgasm like this one before, and never since. The biggest bowel movement after stomach cramps or a massive urination after holding it in for hours pales in comparison to the physical pleasure I felt from this. Nearly 10 years later, I'm still thinking about it. Absolutely incredible stuff. Story 40. Being deaf in one ear, I went to the doctor to have the blockage removed and was able to hear from both ears again. Story 41. Eating while being eaten, and her friend squirming all over on top of you while making out with her friend. Story 42. I have a stomach condition that can lead to flare-ups where I cannot keep anything down, not even water, sometimes for 48 hours. At one point, I was in the hospital, and that first glass of cold water after the medication kicked in was better than almost anything I have ever felt. Story 43. I had an ex who gave me the best scalp massages in history. The sex was average, but her rubbing and handling my hair was better than most experiences I've had. Story 44. When I was younger, I tried sex with 2 girls and ended up in a threesome. The experience was absolutely phenomenal. At one point, one girl was riding me in the cowgirl position while the other was cupping and fondling me, whispering how she wanted me to finish inside her. The combination of her touch and the excitement was so intense that I nearly blacked out. My entire body was flooded with complete relaxation and pleasure like I had never felt before. Story 45. I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that request. Story 46. I literally just experienced this today. I had a procedure called a stellate ganglion block, where the specialist uses an ultrasound machine to locate the fight or flight nerve and injects lidocaine to temporarily disable it for a few hours and reset the nervous system. My hand is still numb and not feeling anything, but having my whole nervous system calm down is better than any medication or intimate experience I have ever had. Story 47. There was a period when I was not able to reach orgasm from other people. I had a one-night stand with a cute girl, and she wanted to be the first one to make me climax. She performed oral sex on me for 40 minutes straight, and she was really skilled at it. Heaven never felt so close. Story 48. This one time a few years ago, I went to a nail salon I had never been to get a pedicure. There was a really adorable Asian couple working there. They were clearly husband and wife. The husband did my pedicure. In the middle of it, he started massaging my feet in a way I had never experienced before. I honestly felt like I was going to explode with pleasure. It was the most amazing foot massage I have ever received. He was hitting every single pressure point, and I couldn't help but squirm in my chair as he massaged me. Usually, foot massages during pedicures last about 2 minutes, but not this one. He did it for a good 10 to 15 minutes. His wife was sitting a few desks over from us. Part of me wanted him to stop because it felt so wrong, but I couldn't make him stop. It felt so incredible, and I was in pure, unadulterated heaven. I tipped him very well, never went back, and still feel guilty about it to this day because I never told my husband about the magic foot massage I received from some woman's husband. I think about it from time to time. Did that guy know footology, and was he purposely trying to pleasure me? I was tortured that day with pleasure. Story 49. 8-hour-long cocaine, poppers, and pornography session. That behavior is addictive, and I am pleased I came out the other side. Story 50. Weirdly, when I was a kid, I slept in a camper infested with scabies and everyone got it. The cure is a head-to-toe lotion you apply, and after a short while you take a shower. The most intense pleasure I have ever felt was standing under hot water while itching everywhere, because the hot water created the same sensation as scratching an itch. My whole body felt like I was scratching the most irritating itch, and it was intense. Story 51. I once fainted and was left dehydrated. Got oral sex where she made me climax multiple times in a row without stopping for over 2 hours, immediately after having intercourse. She pinned me against a wall corner while I tried to move away after climaxing once, all while totally intoxicated. She really enjoyed it. That went on regularly for years since then. Have yet to meet another woman who absolutely adores giving and receiving oral sex like that since, but it's all good. She was intense, and that raised bar is very unrealistic. Story 52. Unfortunately, the very first time I used intravenous heroin. I have been clean and sober for 8 years now as of the beginning of this month, June 6, 2017. We do recover. Story 53. I was on a ride at an amusement park that moved side to side. My boyfriend and I looked at each other as the boat in the air ride reached higher and higher with each sway. It felt amazing. I am grateful to have had the experience with my boyfriend instead of a total stranger who would not understand why my facial expressions showed more. Although it was not ideal, it was more comfortable that all we had to do was shoot a look at each other and say, "We." Story 54. Honestly, it was one of those nights where everything just clicked. He took his time, really paying attention to what I liked, and the build-up was incredible. Slow kisses, teasing touches, and when he finally went down on me, I honestly forgot how to speak for a second. It wasn't just the physical part, it was how wanted I felt. That combination was perfect. Story 55. Went for a full-body sports massage in Montenegro. Apparently, the masseur used to be a physiotherapist at Juventus Football Club. It was rough and painful at times, but it felt good afterwards. I felt light as a feather, not only physically but also mentally. Never felt like that before. Forget heroin, give me that masseur. Story 56. Long hug while standing up for my boyfriend. I love him so much. He is tall, comfortable, and smells good. Story 57. I had a bagel from a local shop in Montreal after 16 hours of travel and hotel booking. The best bagel I have ever eaten. Story 58. Subluxed a rib. Went to a chiropractor because it was what I could afford, and he adjusted it back into place. It was still sore, but the relief, the meaty scrunch it made, the disappearance of persistent numbing pain, it was like a strange sort of heaven. I want to feel that type of relief again, just without my ribs coming out of place. Story 59. Doing the final checkout on the last day working at a toxic place, and within the hour getting on a flight to Japan for a 2-week vacation. Best vacation ever. No massively overloaded inbox or pending tasks to worry about. When I returned from vacation, I started my new job. Story 60. The instant relief the moment everything comes out after giving birth. I may have been lucky because I only had a very small tear. I just remember the agony for the past 3 full hours and then the relief of finally being done. Nothing can compare. Story 61. I once had an intimate experience that felt so extraordinary. It was like a spiritual awakening, as if I had pierced the veil. Story 62. A simple and plain experience. One-hand stimulation by night, in bed and completely in the dark. While I am not usually into this, I do not know what happened this time. I exploded like never before. Felt my heart suddenly pumping extremely slowly and painfully while all of my muscles became very tense. The release was incredibly intense, long, and powerful. Seriously, I thought I was having a heart attack. The girl was shocked at first and giggled afterward, as did I once I made sure my heart was okay. What was that? She did not do anything special, nothing at all. Suddenly, I was experiencing an intense release in the bedroom, as if leaving my own body. You think you understand sex, the human body, pleasure points, complex ways to stimulate them, and different methods to lead a person or even yourself to orgasm. Then the simplest thing breaks your mind and changes you forever. The human body is remarkable. Story 63. The first time I masturbated, nobody told me I have a cannon in my pants. I have been chasing that feeling ever since. Story 64. My best friend fell asleep in my lap while my hand was on his head and his hand was around me. I felt safe near him. Story 65. $1 services from Tent Girl off campus. I am telling you, I would have given $2, but she ran an honest business out there. Nothing in the world has ever come close to Tent Girl's $1 services. And believe me, I have tried every application in tent town in the Midwest. Story 66. An orgasm so intense, I tipped face first into his chest and could not move for a whole minute. We had not had a lot of time together at that time, and the pent-up tension and that release were beyond words. Story 67. When my boyfriend touched me for the first time, it may sound cheesy, but the feeling of his hand on me brought an immense sense of safety, love, and passion that I had never experienced before. Every time he is driving and puts his hand on my leg, I get that rush of feeling again. Story 68. Besides sexual activity, taking a shower after a long, hot hike or bike ride and lying on a bed directly under the ceiling fan. Story 69. Stone sex, just normal stoned with cannabis. I used MDMA once, but it was a mild dose and I avoided combining it with orgasm. I've heard people ruin their sex lives by using MDMA too intensely and having sex at the same time. Story 70. Sex with my ex. I went against everything I believed in regarding relationships because he gave me the most intense, mind-blowing pleasure. He was like a powerful drug, and I allowed that addiction to drag me to my lowest point. Escaping that shadowed, tethered mental prison has been so freeing. The scars I carry with me remind me to never return to the darkness. Story 71. Quite a few. The absence of pain is the best thing ever. The first dose of morphine straight in my jugular when my bowel perforated. Bliss. Eating after 6 months of parenteral nutrition. That one time I was intimate while still asleep. I had consented before, of course, and I woke up while already experiencing orgasm. Oh my God. The best thing ever. I got stranded at a railway station in the middle of nowhere once due to a malfunctioning train after a work trip. It was dark, minus 24 degrees Celsius, and I had no idea where I was before GPS technology. I managed to find a phone, call my boyfriend, and ask him to pick me up. I waited for more than 3 hours. When I entered his car, it was warm and he had tea, a big croissant for me, and a kiss. The coziness. I had a very bad case of coronavirus disease, so I was hospitalized. I was in a room by myself that had constantly a big air purifier that was very noisy, like white noise but slightly higher pitched, so it was annoying. I left that room when I was discharged, and after a week, silence was the best pleasure ever. My brain could finally turn off. Story 72. Super hopped up on postpartum hormones, but holding my sleeping 1-week-old baby boy. It was not right when he was born, but once we were home and reality finally set in, my God, I have never felt so much joy and happiness. Story 73. Got my ass kicked whitewater rafting the Dead River in Maine. Came back to camp, drank a beer and laid down, legs hanging halfway out of the tent. Woke up 6 hours later to a star-filled sky, thoroughly relaxed, having slept like the dead without moving an inch. Then I joined my friends around a campfire for a couple more beers. Takeaway. Challenge your body now and again, and sleep well. Story 74. I used to wake up for work every morning at 3 a.m. and as soon as I got home around 5 p.m., I would pass out for hours. It was practically always dark outside while I was awake and not at work. One day, I passed out after I got home as usual and woke up in shock when I saw it was 6 a.m. I was very late for work. I jumped in my car and sped down the freeway for about 10 miles until I started thinking, wait, did I really sleep for 13 hours? Why do I still feel tired? Then I checked the time again. It was 6 p.m. during daylight saving time. The relief I felt when I turned around and drove back home was immense. Story 75. Jumping out of a perfectly good airplane from 13,000 feet was like 100 orgasms, all happening at the same time. By the way, I was wearing a parachute. Story 76. I really like that monster turd sliding out and the release of an effortless push to start it on its way. Story 77. I hate to admit it, but I may have used my wife's toy while she was out. Let's just say that with it all the way in and stroking with some lubricant, the experience will forever be unmatched. Story 78. I broke my leg and had a cast past my knee for a long time. When they took it off, the nurse used a lotion to clean it and remove dead skin. Felt very pleasurable. I was also 16. Story 79. Had eczema on my lower shins and feet. Worst stitch ever. Then I found the shower head nozzle and sprayed my legs with the hottest temperature possible. Agony from the itch and simultaneous pure ecstasy from scratching the itch with the water. Almost passed out from the endorphins. Of course, my doctor thought I was nuts, but it worked. Story 80. You are itching. You scratch the itch. It does not work. You move your hand around to itch more. Then you find the place it itches. It is nowhere near where you thought it was. Feels very good. Story 81. I don't know if pleasure is the right word here, but this is what came to mind. I was completely broken. My ex-husband, whom I loved very much, passed away. I was picking up the pieces of my life and soldiering through for our child. I was emotionally locked. Couldn't laugh, couldn't cry, could feel but couldn't emote, if that makes sense. I left work one day and instead of going home, I drove to a lake I hadn't been to since my childhood. There was no one there. I parked on the far side of the lake. It was spring and still pretty cool outside. I looked in my trunk and found a large, fluffy blanket that I hadn't forgotten was back there. I took the blanket, wrapped up in it, and just lay on the ground, watching the water. And I cried. I cried so hard. It was like years of stress, grief, and pain just left my body. I cried it all out, then fell asleep. I woke up to the sound of light waves lapping at the shore and a cool breeze on my face. I got in my car and drove home. I felt light and free. My whole body felt untethered from the suffocating baggage I had been carrying for so long. It was the best feeling I have ever had. Story 82. I'm just going to say it. Getting a high-quality, intimate experience to finish after a great sexual session. Also, Molly was pretty cool. Story 83. After spending hours drowning in anxiety, stress, and overthinking, when a loved one gently hugs you, you can physically feel all that burden instantly melt away. Story 84. I would say the light, physical touches you have with someone with whom you develop chemistry happen much more quickly than anticipated. It is better than the sex that comes afterward, in my opinion. There is nothing like that intense period of not knowing where things are going, but you are so enveloped in the present moment that you could not care less about what happens next. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.